everyone, I hope you all are well. So I've applied some foundation across my eyelids when I was doing my base makeup just to cancel out any discoloration that I may have had, and now I'm buffing over the area to make sure that I have no creasing before I move on to the next step, which is priming. So I'm taking an eyeshadow primer now. This is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus eyeshadow primer, and I'm applying this to the eye area just to make sure that the shadows go on nice and smoothly. And I'm going a step further now, and I'm taking an eyeshadow base. Now in last week's video I talked through how to get the most out of your shadows, and this is what I meant by combining all of the steps. The foundation cancels out any discoloration that I may have had. The primer then provides longevity, and this white coloured base now is going to intensify the colour of the shadows that I layer on top of it. So once I've got the base down, then I'm just using a synthetic brush just to buff that pencil all over the eye, anywhere that I'm adding shadow. My palette of choice today then is the Wet n Wild Rose in the Air eyeshadow palette, and if you've been a follower of mine for any length of time, you'll know I adore these palettes. The colour payoff is fantastic, ease of use is just second to none, and the shadows blend like a dream, and sure, the price is so affordable. You really can't go wrong, so I'd highly recommend if you haven't tried them already. So all I've been doing now is buffing some of that mauve eyeshadow into the crease. I started there and I then tapped some down onto the outer portion of the eye, and now I'm just gradually working on building up the intensity of that shadow. So I'm working up a few light layers of this eyeshadow, and in doing this I'm going to limit fallout as my brush isn't going to be loaded up with product, and then you're not going to have a lot of fallout down onto the cheeks, and then it's just going to make the blending process easier too, working in a few light layers. So once I'm happy with how that looks, I'm taking then a smaller, kind of more defined brush, and I'm using this to sweep some of that eyeshadow down along the lower lash line, making sure to connect it up on the outer edge so that it connects up with the shadow on the lid. Next then, I'm taking this pink eyeshadow here, and I'm using a smaller, more defined blending brush, and I'm starting by tapping a very small amount of this down on the outer third of the lid, and then I'll very, very lightly take what's left on my brush up and across into the crease of the eye, just to blend it out. And I wanted to keep this look quite simple and soft, which is why I'm not using a lot of the pink. I just want a hint of that colour. As before, I'm just working in a couple of light layers, taking a very small amount of the pink onto the brush, tapping it down onto the outer portion of the eyelid, and then very softly blending this about halfway across the lid and blending the excess product up into the crease. Then I'm taking this light, kind of cream shade, off-white, I'd say cream, and I'm using this on a C-shaped brush just to pat the shadow down onto the inner portion of the eyelid, taking it halfway across the eye to meet the pink. So I'm not doing a cut crease today. Again, like I said, I want it nice and soft, but I wanted that lid area to be nice and light and bright. Now I'm taking that small bullet shaped brush again, and I'm sweeping a little bit of that pink eyeshadow down along the lower lash line, focusing it on the outer third and then sweeping the rest across. Now I'm taking a brown eyeshadow. It's a matte brown from the palette. I just want to softly define the lash line. I'm looking out of the corner of my eye into a mirror to expose the lash line. Sometimes this can be easier to do than closing your eye, because when you're looking sideways, you can still see exactly how it's going to look along the lash line. And then I'm taking what's left then down onto the lower lashes, again keeping it to the outer third. I'm now taking this pencil from Wet n Wild. It's for the brows, but I like to use it on the waterline, and I'm using this to line the waterline, and it'll kind of mimic the white of the eye, making the eyes look bigger and brighter. And finally then I'm using some of the Kiss lashes. These are a new style. It's a wispy style, followed by a couple of coats of the Mega Length mascara to my top and bottom lashes. But then that's it. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope you found it helpful and easy to follow. I hope you enjoy this Valentine's Day, whatever you may be getting up to. I know it's hard now with COVID and lockdown, but hopefully you'll make the most of the day, whether it be with a partner or just treating yourself. And I'll catch you all very soon.